Good morning, everybody. My name is Barry Schwartz, and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, March 26th, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at seroundtable.com. First up, lots of controversy around a new study that shows that 65% of all searches in Google lead to no click to a website. We'll get into that a little bit later. Mobile first indexing, the timeline is up. It's March. They should be all moved over by now, but they aren't. I'll tell you what's going on with that. The page experience update, which is going to be rolling out in May. Google talked a little bit about how they think that rollout's going to happen. I'll talk about that. And there's a lot of Search Console related news, plus a lot more, so stay tuned. Just one note before we get into the content. This weekend is Passover. I'll be offline from Friday night, that's tonight, through Monday night. I probably will have some stories scheduled for Monday, but I'll be completely offline, so if you try to reach me or anything like that, I won't be able to respond until either really late Monday night or Tuesday morning. So anybody celebrating Passover, have a nice Passover. Everybody else be safe and healthy, and I'll speak to you after. Okay, so let's sit back a little bit and relax about this. So Rand Fishkin from SparkToro, formerly founder, well, always a founder of Moz, went ahead and released another study from his previous study he did a year or so ago. From the previous study basically showed about 50-something% of searches did not lead to a click from the Google search results to the to a webmaster, to a website, etc. Now, that study was done using jump shot data. Then he did a new study, jump shot's out of business. He did a new study and published it this week, basically saying about 65% of all clicks, all searches done in Google do not lead to a click to a website. Now, that may or may not be true. We're not sure. It seems a bit high for me, so I started questioning it. And a lot of folks, not just me, tons of folks from the search community said, that just doesn't sound right. What about the clicks on ads? What about local results where maybe you're not getting a click to the website, but you're getting a click on your phone number? They're calling you from the local pack. Or maybe they're hitting driving directions, doing curbside pickup. Maybe they're placing an order and then doing curbside pickup. Maybe it's people doing keyword refinements. Maybe the click is, maybe the search is something that they did by accident. Like, I don't know, they searched for a misspelling and they had to refine their search. Maybe the people also asked triggered something. There's just so many reasons why somebody might not click from the search results. Maybe they did a search for how to spell something, or a definition, or what's the weather, or what time is it in this location, what's the sports scores from this place, license data and stuff like that. How old is Barack Obama? These are like factual information. Now, of course, Google used to send people to weather sites. Google used to send people to sports sites, scores. People used to send people to definition websites, but I remember when Google created Google Define back in like 2004, 2005, the dictionary sites were all upset. Now, that's a pattern that's been happening, but Google wants to solve the answer. Now, there is no right or wrong in this situation. Maybe 65% of all searches don't lead to a click exactly. The data was from SimilarWeb. I'm not sure how accurate that data is. The data is the data, but as any mathematician, statistician knows, you could take a data set, chunk it up into different areas, and just make it say whatever you want. That's the beauty of data, and that's what politicians have done for years. Again, it gets us thinking about searcher intent. It gets us thinking about, as marketers, what we should be building for our customers, or helping our customers build, that are really useful for the searcher to actually click on your website. You got to think in that way. It's a different space. We could cry, we could whine about it. Honestly, it's not going to make any short-term difference. It probably won't make any long-term difference either. So let's just focus on what we can do for our customers and not really complain about that. What's interesting is Google disputed those claims. I got a nice link out of it, thankfully, but I was totally shocked by that. I had no clue. But basically, they summarized exactly what I just spoke about that dispute. Overall, I really, really wish Google would provide more data. They don't have to publish the data in a blog post. We have the data on Google My Business. We know clicks on phone numbers. We know clicks on directions. We know those types of clicks. We know some rich results types of clicks. We don't have feature snippet clicks. We don't have voice data. We don't have a lot of data. And I wish Google would provide more data instead of saying, we provide more website traffic. It goes both ways. And I think Rand has a very, very important point that he's making. But at the same time, us as marketers need to think about it as what we have now and what the trend is. It's just going to get worse. So we got to think about how we can build websites that are clickable from the Google search results and will always be clickable from the Google search results. And that's been a challenge. It's been what we do best, and we'll adapt and we'll get better at it. Moving on to the mobile first indexing. So it is March. It's actually the end of March. And all websites should have been moved over to the mobile first indexing process, where Google will look at a website, crawl a website as a smartphone crawls that website. Google has not done that yet. It has a last batch of websites, it said, that it switched off its ability to automatically move over websites to mobile first indexing. So sites that are in the desktop indexing process are no longer going to be automatically moved over to mobile first indexing. Obviously, new sites that are created will just default to mobile first indexing. That being said, Google said they'll probably release it sometime in April, maybe May. They'll do one last batch of moving those sites over manually, I guess in one batch, to the mobile first indexing. These are websites that have serious problems between what the mobile version of their website says and their desktop version. Keep in mind, you can have a desktop only site. It's fine. That's perfect. Google has probably switched over that site to mobile first indexing. But if you have a mobile site and a desktop site, and those two sites and those pages to pages do not align, then you have an issue. And hopefully we'll see that moved over soon, but Google is working on it, and it probably won't happen until maybe next month or the month after that, according to John Mueller, and it probably will happen all at once, maybe. We'll see. Google also spoke a little bit about the page experience update, and John Mueller was asked, will this update happen like all at once? Like we'll just push it out and bam, the core web vitals and page experience factors page experience signals will all come into play? Or will it happen slowly? And John Mueller said, I don't know. We'll see when we get closer. Truth is, Google has talked about this in the past, specifically John Mueller, and Google said that they prefer to release these updates in a much slower, granular way than a more jarring way, meaning a more abrupt way. Truth is, again, with this update, we don't expect this update to be that serious. We don't expect it to be a big update. We don't expect the rankings to change drastically with this update. So I don't think it really matters that much. But as we get closer to May, we'll see. And I'm sure we're going to have lots of studies saying what happened and what did not happen. Interesting question asked to John Mueller about, does Google look at the letters that the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, sends to website owners when it comes to health-related concerns like COVID and stuff like that? John Mueller said John Mueller basically was not aware of anything with FTC and so forth, and I assume not. But there is a section published on the FTC website where they sent about 400 different companies and counting warning letters about companies that are allegedly selling unapproved products that may violate the federal law related to COVID or deceptive things around COVID. And it would be cool if Google actually used those letters to actually go ahead and say these sites should not rank. I assume Google's handling it automatically, and that was John Mueller's response saying we probably are able to handle those sites. He said he looked at some of those sites manually and they all look pretty low quality. Google has released new structured data for, we saw this in January, practice problems and math solvers, so like homework help. Google released new structured data for people who have educational websites that have these practice problems and math solvers, basically step-by-step solving questions, to mark up their answers with structured data. Then also Google with that released new Google Search Console rich results report to help them debug that information, as well as a new rich results test, well, the same rich results test, but upgraded to help them debug those issues specific with these new structured data. So definitely take a look at that if you're in the education business. Talking about Google Search Console, the crawl stats report has had an internal data issue. And the internal data issue was specific with the crawl stats reports between March 10th and March 23rd. If you see a drop in your data around that time frame, you are not alone. That is a bug specific with Google. So just keep that in mind. I would pretty much ignore that. Gary from Google basically said that you should not have to, it's kind of like a weird thing where you reblock. You want Google to pick, let's say you have a block page and you want Google to pick up on the Noindex tag, but it's blocking using the Robots.txt file. So Google has an index, but it's not indexed in a quasi state. So people are like, oh, I'm going to remove the block, have Google crawl the page, find the Noindex, and then reblock it at the higher level. It doesn't work that way. It's just confusing yourself and confusing Google. It all ends up to the same state. And Gary said it's just a silly way of doing it. Don't do it that way. Just don't worry about it. The page index without content notice that people get in the Google Search Console, Gary from Google said those are generally about pages being blocked by the Robots.txt file that it cannot access. It's not always the case, but that's generally what it's about. Google has given us some information about how to update your featured snippets in a fast way. So let's say your featured snippets have incorrect data or you want to update that information and so forth. You can do that, but basically all you need to do is update the content on the feature snippet portion of your website. So you update the content on your website. Then you make sure that Google can recrawl that page faster. Either use update a sitemap file if it's a lot of pages with the timestamp data, or you could just use the URL submission tool in Google Search Console's URL inspection tool to push that data to Google, and then Google will update it. Keep in mind, if you do update, you might lose that feature snippet, so make sure to test it. You can always put it back if you need to. Google released a new video, what they call a lightning talk, on e-commerce and product search, getting your product data into Google. And there's multiple ways to do that. I think there's like 3 or 4 different ways to do that. If you're new to this, you can take a look at this video. It was by Alan Kent of Google, and I posted on the Search Engine Roundtable on March 24th if you want to learn more about that. Bing, Microsoft Advertising released some data around their information around how they protect the search results. And Microsoft said that they have blocked 1.6 billion ads in 2020. They suspended 300,000 advertisers in 2020, and they removed 270,000 websites in 2020. Compare that to Google. Google blocked 3.1 billion versus the 1.6 billion of on the Microsoft ad side, but still amazing numbers, kind of shocking. Google Ads was caught testing last week a new ad match type called Smart Matching. Nobody knows exactly what it does, but they were caught testing that. Google Ads has released a new property promotion ads thing for hotel campaigns where you can actually promote property ads in the Google search results. And again, you can manage this on their hotel campaigns. And now it used to be a white label thing that only certain properties could use. Now it's available globally to everybody who wants to use it. Ginny Marvin said that first-party data, Google considers first-party data even on subdomains, country-level ccTLDs, country-level TLDs, or vanity URLs, up to 5 vanity URLs, owned by the same company. So even across all those things, that could all be considered first-party data across that whole entire network owned by the same company. Google Local Reviews is testing a not helpful button. Google has usually a thumbs up button to say this review is helpful. They're now testing a not helpful button to say that review is not helpful. Google's also replaced the messaging button in the Google Local panel, the Google Local pack or knowledge panel, with a chat button. So instead of saying message, it says chat. Finally, super nice to see Semrush, a company we all love, like I've been saying forever. They also are a sponsor of these videos, but not saying that because of this. They went public yesterday. It was really nice to see a lot of their team, the owners, and a lot of the team actually at the New York Stock Exchange for the day. I think it's the first solely SEO tool company, and I think solely SEO company to go public. I think Mike King confirmed that last night with me on Twitter. It's just really nice to see that. I hope they do well. Much success to all the employees, to the owners, and all their customers, as well as the community. In any event, thank you so much for listening to the Search Buzz video recap. My name again is Barry Schwartz. This is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable, SEOroundtable.com over the past week. Hope you like this format. Tell me which layouts you like better. Hope you have a nice Passover. Everybody stay healthy, happy, and I'll see you guys next week. Be well. Bye-bye.